A river can hide an entire city for 2,000 years, and the Brahmaputra in Bangladesh did exactly that to Mahasthangarh, a bustling Bronze Age trade hub that vanished beneath silt and mud. Let's explore the lost Bronze Age. When the water shifted, the settlement was cut off, its streets buried, and its story almost lost forever, until modern archaeology lifted the veil, revealing a network of commerce that reshaped our understanding of early South Asian trade. Chapter 1: The Forgotten City. Mahasthangarh sits on the north bank of the ancient river channel, now a quiet mound of earth near the modern town of Bogra. Early surveys in the 19th century noted a handful of pottery shards, but it wasn't until the 1930s that a systematic excavation, led by Sir John Marshall, uncovered a fortified citadel, massive mud brick walls, and a complex of public buildings. Radiocarbon dating placed the core occupation between 1200 BCE and 500 CE, squarely in the Bronze Age to early Iron Age transition. What made Mahasthangarh remarkable was not just its size, it covered roughly 30 hectares, but its material culture, a blend of local Bengal styles and far-reaching imports. Chapter 2: Evidence of a Trade Network. Among the most striking finds were glazed terracotta beads of Chinese origin, copper ingots stamped with the emblem of the Harappan civilization, and ivory figurines traced to the Horn of Africa. A cache of amphorae, typical of Mediterranean trade, lay in a sealed pit near the western gate. Each artifact carried a story of exchange. The beads indicate that Mahasthangarh was a node in the early Silk Road that stretched far beyond the familiar overland routes. The copper suggests a link to the ancient tin trade that fed bronze production in the Ganges basin. The ivory points to maritime connections across the Bay of Bengal. Chapter 3: The river's role in prosperity and decline. The Brahmaputra's floodplain is a living laboratory of sediment dynamics. In the centuries when Mahasthangarh thrived, the river followed a northerly course, delivering fertile silt to the surrounding fields and providing a natural highway for riverine traffic. Archaeologists have identified an ancient dockyard on the eastern edge of the citadel, where wooden pilings, preserved by anaerobic conditions, once supported barges laden with goods. However, around 500 CE, climate records indicate a series of unusually strong monsoons. These floods accelerated the river's migration southward, carving a new channel that bypassed the settlement entirely. Chapter 4: The Silent Burial. As the river abandoned its old bed, the abandoned channel began to fill with fine alluvial deposits. Over the next 2 centuries, the city was gradually smothered under layers of silt up to 3 meters thick. The walls, once towering, became invisible beneath the new floodplain. For centuries, the local population built their villages on top of the buried ruins, never knowing they were walking over a once great trading metropolis. The river's quiet rerouting effectively sealed Mahasthangarh's fate, preserving its material culture in a time capsule of sediment. Chapter 5: Unearthing the Past. The breakthrough came in 1995 when satellite imagery revealed an anomalous rectangular outline beneath the current fields, a subtle difference in vegetation that hinted at buried structures. Ground-penetrating radar confirmed the presence of massive brick foundations. A multidisciplinary team, combining archaeologists, geologists, and remote sensing experts, launched a series of test trenches. Each cut revealed pristine layers of pottery, metalwork, and organic material untouched by later human activity because the silt had acted as a protective blanket. One trench exposed a sealed granary filled with charred rice grains. Isotopic analysis of the grain's carbon content showed a mix of local and imported varieties, confirming that Mahasthangarh was not merely a transit point but also a production center. Another trench uncovered a workshop where copper was alloyed with tin, producing bronze tools that bore stylistic marks matching those found in distant sites across the Indian subcontinent. The workshop slag contained trace amounts of lead, a telltale sign of metallurgical exchange with the Western Deccan. Chapter 6: Human Stories in Clay. Beyond the trade goods, the city's everyday life emerges from humble artifacts. A terracotta figurine of a woman, painted with mineral pigments, was found in a domestic courtyard. The pigments, copper-based greens and iron-based reds, suggest a sophisticated knowledge of local mineral resources. Nearby, a clay tablet bearing an early form of the Bengali script records a transaction: 10 silver bars exchanged for a shipment of seashells from the Sundarbans. This single line encapsulates a thriving market where inland and coastal economies intersected. Chapter 7: Why It Matters. Mahasthangarh rewrites a chapter of South Asian history that has long been dominated by the Indus Valley and later Buddhist kingdoms. It proves that sophisticated trade networks existed far earlier than previously thought, linking the Bengal Delta to the Mediterranean, East Asia, and East Africa. Moreover, the city illustrates how environmental change, specifically river migration, can abruptly end a civilization, a pattern echoed in other ancient sites like the Maya city of Tikal and the Egyptian settlement of Akhetaten. Chapter 8: Lessons for Today. Modern Bangladesh faces similar challenges. The Brahmaputra still shifts, threatening contemporary settlements and agricultural lands. By studying how ancient communities adapted, or failed to adapt, to river dynamics, planners can develop more resilient strategies for flood management and urban design. The preservation of Mahasthangarh under silt also offers a cautionary tale about the double-edged nature of natural processes: what destroys can also protect. Conclusion: From mud to memory. The story of Mahasthangarh is a reminder that history often lies just beneath our feet, waiting for a change in perspective to bring it to light. A river that once fed a bustling market now conceals it, and only through the combined power of technology, interdisciplinary research, and curiosity have we been able to listen to the whispers of a city that traded across continents 2,000 years ago. As we watch the Brahmaputra's waters today, we can imagine the ancient barges that once glided along its banks, carrying silk, copper, and stories across a world that was far more connected than we ever imagined.